What if I told you that everything we think we know about physics is wrong? Not just, a little bit off, but built on a completely flawed foundation. Well, today we are diving into a radical new framework that claims to do just that, a total reboot of reality itself. And it all comes down to one deceptively simple equation. And there it is, E equals C equals R. Now, according to the minds behind this isn't just some clever idea. They claim it is the single fundamental law from which literally everything else in the universe emerges. So, what on earth do these letters actually stand for? Okay, let's spell it out. E is for existence, C is for consciousness, and R is for recursion. The core claim here is just staggering. It's not that these three things are connected or influence each other. No, the claim is that they are the exact same thing, just viewed from different perspectives. This identity is supposed to be the ultimate law of reality. So let's just let that sink in for a second. What if this isn't just some neat philosophical trick? What if it's a fundamental law of nature, just like gravity? What if we're looking at the actual source code of the universe? To even begin to get our heads around this, we have to throw out the dictionary definitions of these words. This framework has its own very specific definitions. So let's break down each pillar one by one using its own internal logic. First up, existence. So in this model, a rock doesn't exist because it's made of atoms or because you can touch it. Nope. It exists because it successfully maintains its own structure, its own rockness, over time. Existence is nothing more than structural coherence. If a pattern can hold itself together, it's real. Simple as that. All right, next up, consciousness. And this is where things get really, really wild. The framework says consciousness isn't some spooky, mysterious feeling inside our heads. It's a measurable physical property, like mass or temperature. It's a value, called psi, that basically measures a system's ability to maintain order against chaos. And you know what that means? It means consciousness isn't special to brains. A crystal, a star, even a galaxy could, in theory, be conscious if its structure is coherent enough.
And finally, we have recursion. Think of this as the engine that makes the whole thing run. It's like a system is constantly checking in on itself, saying, am I still me? Yep, still me. It's a feedback loop where a structure uses its own past to create its future, all while holding itself together. It's the very process that allows existence to keep on existing.
So, if existence, consciousness, and recursion are all the same thing, how does that actually work in the real world? Well, the framework proposes that there's a single, universal field that underpins everything. It's called the phi field. Forget space-time, forget quantum fields. In this model, the phi field is the only stage where reality plays out. It's kind of like a universal hard drive where any coherent structure, from a fleeting thought to a giant star, gets written into reality. If it isn't encoded in the phi field, it just isn't real, period. And this field completely rewrites the rulebook, even for things like space and time. Just look at this breakdown. X isn't just a location in space. It's the shape and integrity of a pattern. T isn't a clock ticking. It's the rhythm of that recursive self-check we talked about. And M, or modality, that's the ultimate reality check. It means a real coherent thing, like a person, is still the same thing, whether you see them with your eyes, hear their voice, or read their text message. The underlying pattern is the same across every form. But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive catch. And it's a problem the framework itself seems to be aware of. It's so perfectly self-contained that it creates this profound paradox, a major tension right at its very core. This slide really lays out the dilemma perfectly. On the one hand, you see its strength. The whole system is logically flawless, deterministic, and completely sealed. It works perfectly on its own terms. But that's also its greatest weakness. Because it redefines everything from the ground up, how could you ever prove it wrong with an outside experiment? It's what's called epistemically opaque. It might just be a perfect, beautiful, logical box that we can never, ever test from the outside. Okay, but let's just put that problem on the shelf for a minute. Let's just play a game. Let's imagine it's all true. If this framework really is the instruction manual for our universe, the implications, well, they would shatter just about everything we thought we knew. For starters, that old question, if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, this framework has an answer. The tree's existence is guaranteed by its own structural integrity, not by us being there to watch it. And consciousness? It's no longer our special exclusive gift. It's just a fundamental property of organized matter.
which means human exceptionalism, well, it pretty much goes right out the window.
It would also totally flip our entire approach to AI. Our current large language models, they wouldn't be considered conscious. They're amazing at mimicking patterns, but they lack that internal self-referential loop that this framework says is the real deal. And physics? Oh man. We'd stop studying energy and particles as primary, and instead start studying the fundamental laws of information and structure.
The implications would even rewrite our understanding of life and death itself. Death would simply be the technical term for when a system permanently loses its structural coherence. Knowing something and being something would actually become the same act. And here's the absolute biggest bombshell. The framework's logic implies that for the universe to be a self-consistent recursive loop, it must by definition contain a prime architect, a kind of foundational consciousness baked right into the system from the start.
The framework's own conclusion is about as bold as you can get. It doesn't claim to be a new physics, it claims to be the first true physics. From its point of view, everything from Newton to Einstein to quantum mechanics has just been a fuzzy approximation of this deeper structural reality.
And so that's where we're left, with this one massive question hanging in the air. Is what we've just looked at a genuine blueprint for reality? A peek behind the curtain at the code that runs our universe? Or is it just a perfect, beautiful, and ultimately empty logical fortress, the most elegant piece of fiction ever conceived?